Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our production powerhouse. Say hi, production powerhouse.
Hi, production powerhouse.
Carlos Luna, oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining me. This is such a delight. I'm also so excited because you just made a TikTok explaining what your job is, so I don't have to ask you about it. It's covered.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I do.
It was totally inspired by you asking me about that, like in a DM. Totally, yeah.
Yeah. I do want to start with the most important question.
Okay.
Can you explain to me a world without shrimp?
Oh, okay. So can I explain to you a world without shrimp? What is this a reference to? I know what this sounds.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, good. It's definitely Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I do a watch every single year. I just wanted to make sure it's not a Fantasy High reference.
Nope,
as well.
It's not.
Because there's a lot of shrimp talk in Fantasy High as well. But yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I love Buffy. I love Angel. I even read comics and like all that. I had a friend that was like deeply into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. All right, so you've played a couple of times, both virtually and in the dome of Dimension 20. I sort of want to walk through like how you came to D20 in the first place. Character creation for people like Cheese and Wetzel felt very different.
Yeah, for sure. How did I come into? So I was working for Roll20 at the time. The panorama was going on, and Dimension 20 reached out to Roll20, and they were like, "Hey, how can we work together?" Roll20 is the largest virtual tabletop that allows you to play Dungeons and Dragons online. And I think D20 was looking to take the show online. I think they were just slammed with so much stuff at that time, both like, on the platform and with their publishers, that the marketing manager was just like, "Hey, you should talk to this guy. He does a lot of our production work. He might be able to help you." So they contacted me, and from the jump, it was just like, "Hey, can you run these maps?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And then I could tell that they were like trying to spin up other stuff too. And in the second meeting, they learned like, "Oh yeah, this guy does design work." So I actually did all the backgrounds for Unsleeping City too. So like, I don't think anyone knows that, but they needed these like mortises and stuff. So I was just like, "Yeah, I can do that. That's pretty easy." And then by like the third meeting that we had, it was like, "Carlos, I didn't know you did improv and you play Dungeons and Dragons." And then by the fourth, I was in Pirates of Leviathan. So it was kind of like, this. I mean, that's basically what happened. And it's so funny too, because I was playing in a bunch of different groups, and I had heard of Dimension 20, but I had never watched Dimension 20. I was under the assumption that it was more like a Harmon Quest type thing, just because it was coming from like the College Humor branch. I thought they were like making fun of D&D. So I was just like, I don't want to watch sketch comedy making fun of D&D. I didn't even know. And there's people in my D&D group that was just like, "You're going to work with Dimension 20? And I was like, "Yeah, they seem really cool." Like, I was just like all about it. And they're like, "You get to talk to Brennan Lee Mulligan?" And I'm like, "Don't know who that's, that guy in the meeting." Like, he seemed pretty cool. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I got to play in Leviathan and, behind the scenes in Unsleeping City, Mice and Murder, and then a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, you were controlling the board, right, for Mice and Murder. Which is...
So the funny thing is about the Mice and Murder board, I believe I don't know if it's a recreation or if it's the original. I can't remember what actually was used from what I recorded on my end. But it's funny because there was a lot of that. I think there was like more than like was actually in the episode. When you're in a room for so many hours and like, they're playing and a lot of times the online play is a little bit slower than the in-person play. It's just like a different vibe. I was just like, I like moved something on accident and like Reika giggled, and I was just like, oh, this is all I'm going to do. Like, all I'm going to do is just try to make Reka laugh. So that was pretty much all I was doing in
And
my
then
murder.
instantly, like some of the most wildly iconic moments of the season are
Oh yeah.
little
Well,
character tokens moving about. Like,
the funny thing about Mice and Murder was um it's always funny when you're on these different types of teams because you can tell how scared they are of your work based on like how involved they are with you. With Mice and Murder, I was basically given this Google Doc and a Google Drive, and they're like, "Here's the game," and I was just like, what is the adventure? Like, who are these people? Like, what are they? So like we were recording and like I had no idea what was going on. Like there was not a decomp when like me and Brennan were talking about the actual storyline and what people were going to do and what he thought. I had no idea. I was just like, I don't know what this background is. Hopefully they get to it later. I don't know what this person is. I don't know what these names are. Yeah, it was just like I basically got like a Google Drive with like 50 NPCs, and it was just like, go for it, man. And I was like, I was terrified. I remember just being so scared for that. Yeah.
I mean, obviously worked out because they kept you around,
Yeah,
and it considerably increased your workload.
for sure.
So, I mean, if I've got my timeline right, Ravening War is the first season you came on for as head of series production.
Yeah, so Ravening War was on the tail end. Like it was basically I basically did nothing but like look at the process that they were doing when they were in post. So it was pretty much in rough cuts when I came on for it. So like I just sat back and was like, you guys do your thing. I am learning what your process is. So I don't consider Ravening my first one, even though I guess technically it is. Just because like I was so hands off on that. I was just basically like just watching the process. But yeah.
Does that mean Dungeons and Drag Queen's your first?
Yeah, technically Ravening is my first.
Right.
Mentopolis is what I consider my first because we recorded them at different times.
Yeah.
So Mentopolis, so I had been doing a bunch of like here and there stuff for D20. So like Mice and Murder, Unsleeping City. I remember once I did a play test for I think what ended up being Starstruck at that time. And then what else did I do? Yeah, and then some here and there stuff like Dirty Laundry and Actually stuff would drop out. And it wasn't until at that time I was running my own business, so I was running like my own media content business. So I was doing work with Roll20, but I also was doing like a lot of work for like Hasbro and like Ravensburger and these other like gaming companies. So like performance was kind of like the least that I was doing at that time. And I was really busy, and I had taken I was going on a small vacation and kind of like this impromptu thing. And I saw Brennan at a party, and he was like, "Hey, do you have time to talk this week?" I'm like, "I'll be in Iceland this week." And he's like, "Cool, cool, cool. Let's just talk." And I took a phone, I took a conversation, I took a meeting with him at like, I think it was like, I don't even think he knows, but I think it was at like 2 a.m. like when in Iceland time for this meeting. And I think it was just more like feel me out, like kind of figure out where I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm looking for. And then I ended up talking to Kearns later on I think that same trip, like a week later or something. And he was like, "Hey, we want you to come aboard on this season. We'd love to have you. Uh, can't tell you any more right now, but if you're interested, we'd love to have you on that season." And I was like, "Yeah, that's great. I'm super busy with, you know, my job, my business. I definitely want to do this, but and I was just completely transparent. I was just like, I totally want to do this, but you know, I'm not a, I kind of can't carve out contractor work for this particular, and give you guys what you need. If there's a position available, love to talk about that in the future. Yeah, and he was just pretty much like, yeah, let's talk. Like, let's see how this goes and let's talk. And Mentopolis was just like a dream. It was like an absolute dream for me. Like I had gone on set and it was like every single part of my life had like led me to know everything that was going on in that dome. Both as like from the tech side to like the player side, to the editor side, like every single thing I knew. And it was great. I think we all hit it off, and yeah, I ended up like signing a couple weeks later.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, Mentopolis was fantastic. Um, and yeah, one of the things I love that you did, especially during Mentopolis, was you had a lot of like, here's our inspirations for like design and things. It was really cool to get to see like that content. I don't even have a question. Just thank you for providing us like cool behind the
Yeah.
scenes content. Like,
Yeah, when they brought me on to Mentopolis, it was kind of like a why don't you come on and help us? And it wasn't anything very specific. Like a lot of the stuff was just kind of like, well, let's see what he can do. And yeah, just like getting my feet wet because the team is the team. Like the team is well oiled, and just like trying to jump in there. I think I'm really good at like backing people up and like looking at what everyone else is doing and seeing where they might need a little bit of support. I think I do that very well. And just like, yeah, there was just like a bunch of stuff that I love about noir that like I could research and I can bring to the table. Of course, Rick Perry's team is just like absolutely incredible with all that stuff. Um, but also thinking of it from a like, what would I want as a cast member like when I'm on set? Like those blinds, the blind lighting, I think really immerses you, or like the slight little movements in the backgrounds. Like that was stuff that we hadn't really done before too. Um, yeah, it was great. Like I loved it. It was um I knew. So here's a weird story. And this is just exclusive to you.
hey,
Only you get this story.
all
Okay.
right.
I think it might have been even referenced in a Hank Green video. I'm not exactly sure. So the Mentopolis shoot is going well for me. Like, I think it's going great. I think we're all really hitting it off. And on the last day of shooting, I got up in the morning, I got ready, I packed my, my backpack full of like my laptop and all that other stuff that I need for set. And for whatever reason, like I don't know why I did this, I was like, I should bring something for Hank. Like I should bring something. And I was doing a bunch of like production, like I was doing a bunch of like um product photography and product videography at the time, and I had a bunch of like props, and for whatever reason I pulled out the prop that I had never used before. It came in this like nice leather case, and I brought it to set, and I just like put it in my bag, and I don't know why, like something just told me to do that. And I'm a little hippy dippy, but I'm not like super, you know what I mean? Like I'm a little bit, but like I don't know why I did this is what I'm saying. Anyways, this spoiler alert if you haven't seen Mentopolis, at the end of Mentopolis, Hank Green's character has this like lovely heart to heart with another character and is actually given a compass. And at that moment, I'm in Video Village and I reach into my bag and I pull out a gold compass in a leather case. And everyone is like, like people are like taking off their headphones, like, where did you even get that from? I'm like, I don't know how it was going to happen. Like, I honestly didn't know. Like, there was nothing in the notes. Like, that was completely off Brennan's like dome at that time. But I tell you what, it worked perfectly. The cast all signed it, like, and we gave it to Hank as a present. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm meant to have this job. Like, I am
Yeah.
just meant to have it.
Yeah.
So
Talk
that's
about
you're
last
the only
day
one
and
who's
you're
ever heard
like,
that. So, yeah.
yeah, last day, I'm getting this job. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, having listened to like Worlds Beyond Number behind the scenes, a lot of like, I shouldn't say it, per Brennan, he doesn't have notes in front of him. So yeah, like I could see
Oh
like
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
just like that's just in his brain, which doesn't make sense to me.
it's
Like
it's wild. It's like
yeah,
absolute. So like, um, yeah, it's absolutely wild. When I played Pirates of Leviathan, I remember I got off that first game, and I told my friends, I was like, this Brennan guy's crazy. We did 14 hours and he never slowed down. Like I was exhausted. I was like in like La La Land, like after those things. And this guy was just like, do, 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 do. When I came out of Mentopolis, we were like working together. And I'm like, how do I support Brennan? How do I do this? And he's like, sharing the Google Doc with you, like right now, like at the top, like right before we start recording. I was like, awesome, man. And I go into it, and there's like, it's almost like a prank. Like that's the best way I can explain it. It's like he just has these like very bare bones bullet points that no one else would ever get. And when I say bullet points, I mean it's like not even like they're like strays. They're like bullet strays. Okay. They're not even points. They're just like strays on the page somewhere. Cause it's like, it'll say something. It'll be like episode 1 and then like return. Some two words put together, return. 3 words put together, return. And that's it. And I'm like, what is this? But he is writing and taking notes for himself and other ideas. So as the season goes on, that doc is getting a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger with not only like things that he wants to do, but things that he like needs to remember to like say in those scenes. And it's just fun to like watch him like write it in real time and just like cross it out in real time. It's like he's just like a maestro when it comes to that stuff.
yeah, it's that I mentioned it to Aabria as well. She's also flabbergasted by like that
Oh yeah.
how his brain works.
Yeah,
It,
it's insane.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah,
So much so, here's another story I'll tell you. So
yeah.
much so. So this is my first day on set for Mentopolis, right? So first day on set, and we were talking like, hey, what are we gonna do this season? Like, we're gonna play Kids on Bikes, but I wanna like kind of alter it a little bit. And I was like, cool, let's talk about that. Let's do that. And like for whatever reason, just with like the hiatus break for Christmas and New Year's or whatever, we kind of just like never sat down to do it. Um, we I collected a bunch of information, a bunch of ideas, blah blah blah, but we never really like solidified it. So day of, we get to set early in the morning. It's cold. We both have coffee, and we're standing there, and he's strolling up. And he's like, hey, dude, glad to have you on here. And I was like, awesome, man. Like, me too. He's like, let's knock out this system. And I was like, knock out the system? Like, what do you mean knock out the system? So it was like us sitting on this like picnic bench, like maybe an hour and a half before we record, like basically like knocking out like all the little things that would make Mentopolis, the system for Mentopolis. So like all the words starting with S, like we sat there and we are like, what are all the S words that we can use here? You know, I remember I was like, we should call the adversity tokens Moxie. Like, yeah, let's do that. Like that totally works. Yeah, it was wild. Like that was like, I love stuff like that. I love being like adaptive and like just being able to like jump in and like make something. And so does the entire team at D20. Like they all do it. It's great.
Yeah. I feel like seeing you in Coffin Run is like you get to see a lot of your love for the production side of things.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Because like you really like you can see like your love of all of those incredible maps. And I will say, Coffin Run to me felt like Izzy and Brennan's improv show bigger, because like those were the characters, which is absolutely a compliment, just to be clear.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I wonder, like, what was sort of like, how fun was that transition of like, I get to play in this world. Oh, now I get to be like behind the scenes with Rick Perry and crew, like building those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think that's really fun. Like that's where I get my energy. That's what fuels me. I love, I just talked about it this weekend. Like I really love a project and I love all the moving parts of a project. Like the spider web of it all. More than, and don't get me wrong, I love performing. Like I really do. Like it's fantastic. It's such a great outlet for me. Like when you have a good table, like time flies and you just have this great sense of accomplishment. I'll take an improv performance over any other type of performance, like whether that's music or acting or anything like that. But yeah, like I was trying to do Dimension 20 like sort of by myself, I guess. Like I had done those 3 episodes, the Mahernblers. I don't know if you've ever watched those,
Oh,
but
yes, of
like
course. Yeah. Abraham
that
Hermbler, incredible. Like,
but that was just me. Like start to finish, that was me. That was me saying to Roll 20 like, "Hey, I think I can make this thing that looks like Dimension 20. I think I can do that." And they were like, "How?" And I was like, "I booked it, I shot it, I edited it myself, I did the marketing plan for it." And it's like one of my greatest accomplishments. Also like, you know, total applause to all those like Becca and Mika and Aabria and Brennan. They all just like allowed me to like keep the cameras rolling and just like trusted me to like make them look good. Um, but yeah, I love all that stuff. Like even before I got hired, I have a 3D software. I have a 3D program where looking up I was looking up photos of the dome and figuring out how to do my own lighting with my own equipment. So I have like a 3D replica on my computer of like what the dome is down to like, the inch away from the wall to the player to the angle to the cameras and the lenses used to the lighting. I just love all that type of stuff. So when I came into the dome, I was already ready. I was like, I knew what was up there, what they were using, and how they were getting what they were getting. Um, yeah.
yeah, incredible. Yeah, I remember. It's just I remember when you like made your announcements you were coming to D20. One of the things I saw is people were not upset, but like they were going to miss the like wild shenanigans that you had clearly pulled off at Roll 20, like that they were going to miss the Abraham Mahernblers of the world.
Yeah. They were
Which
upset. I'll say they were upset. Some
okay,
of them
all
were
right,
upset,
yeah,
for sure. And here's the thing: Abraham Mahermler, fantastic. Like I would, yeah, do many, many more if they ever wanted to do many more. And those sessions, like Aabria will tell you, like they were just insane. They were like the least amount of prep that you could have for a game, and they just let us do whatever we wanted to do. Mainly because like I trust them to just be, artists and geniuses and poets that they are. Like I think when you give them free reign, and that's the other thing too. I tend to think that like fun is fun, like play is play. So whether they're in character or they're just themselves, like I like both. I like seeing both sides of that. So yeah,
yeah.
Mahermler.
What? Yes, yeah.
We'll
I mean,
see
I
what
think it's
happens.
why. Yeah, I think it's why like people love adventuring parties or adventure. Like they love to see those like behind the scenes of like I mean of just the players being the players talking to each other. It's why the Zoom adventuring parties are so iconic.
Oh
Of
yeah,
like the most unhinged things imaginable. Like
we have some like ridiculous adventuring parties coming up.
I
Like
can.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'll turn to Shawbuck and I'll be like, I don't know if I can even cut this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't, what are they doing right now? Can we get a camera on whatever that is? It was just insane. Yeah. They're ridiculous people. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. I also love Burrow's End. What
Oh,
a triumph of a season. And in like no small part, thanks to the terrifying tapes of Dr. Winnebacher. I, I,
yeah.
good Lord. Like,
That was really fun. That was something that we talked about in the beginning. So like, Abri and I sat down early on for Burroughs and at like her kitchen table. I don't know. Did she actually show you the dry erase board?
She did not. No,
She
I'm going to
didn't
yell
show
at
you the
her for
dry
that.
erase board.
And I
Okay.
thought we were friends, Aabria.
Yeah. I thought for sure she would show you the dry erase board. Let me see if I have it. Hold on one second. Um, so basically everything that we did was on this dry erase board. We sat down. So basically we sat down for, I don't know, like 10, 12 hours. And we basically tried to figure out the entire world of Burrow's End. Aabria had a lot of big ideas, and I think the trick to Burrow's End was like, here's the big ideas, the big overarching thing of this world that's happening. But for her, she really wanted to like ground it in something, grounded in family, grounded in like humanity. And it's a huge undertaking, but at the same time, it was so fun to do and just so exciting to come up with these different ideas. And it was the first time I had sat down with in this position, sat down with a GM and been like, hey, what can we do? Like, the sky's the limit. And that's where we get this whiteboard. Hang on one second.
She really took you up on sky's the limit, because
Yeah, so sky's the limit. That's the thing. So I mean, we tried a bunch of stuff. I was trying to get Rick Perry to drill that hole just like her. Like, we were really gunning for it, and just kind of just like, let's just try it out. I will say the bear turned out way bigger than we had expected. Like, we had sat there and talked about the bear, but we hadn't, I don't think either of us were prepared for the bear.
yeah.
That's really what it is. It is here. Where is this? It was on my desktop. Okay. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's a really cool like dry erase board where we have like drawings of like the original DM screen and what the neutral board would be, what the bear is, what like the first puzzle would be, and yeah, like all that stuff is in there. Even like an alternate kind of ending that we thought was going to happen but didn't end up we did it on a smaller scale, but there was like a big scale like fight that we had played with in the beginning that we scaled it down to like a more personal like horror thing at the end. Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I know Rick told me that like day one meeting was the first battle is quote inside a giant fucking bear, and that he wrote down like giant fucking bear, and that was his like note for, like going to it for the rest of the time. Look, I mean, we chatted about it via messages. You were right.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrifying. The question was that we sat on was like, we had the bear, and when was the bear? Like, that was the question that we had. It was like, when was the bear? And I was like, there was questions like, does it happen later on because it's so cool? And it's like, does it happen in the middle? And I was like, they have to get episode 2 so hard. Like, we have to, like, because I think a big thing for both me and Aabria, like we're actually very similar. We like to play with expectations a lot. And I think we both knew that people would have a certain like fuzzy animal expectation like story with Aabria on this season. And I think we both needed the audience to know that like anything can happen in this world, and we needed to do it right away. I really wanted people, like, just from the sidelines, I really wanted people who had maybe like checked out, like, oh, this is a fun like Disney season. I really wanted them to be like on their news feed and being like, wait, what did Aabria do in episode 2? And then they have like 2 episodes to catch up. Like I really wanted that to happen.
And I
And
just saw a Reddit post where someone was like, "Hey, I wasn't really feeling like the first like 30 minutes of Burrow's End. Should I go back to it?" And people were like, "Hey, man, go back."
yeah, it
It
really is a
gets
masterpiece.
different.
Yeah, it's so good too. Like she does such a good job with like running the table and running the relationships. And here's the thing, like giving the cast air to do those things, to react that way. You watch Burrow's End and like one, I didn't lie. It's the best role playing season I think anyone's ever done. Like it really is. Like pound for pound, like all those scenes hit so freaking hard. Everyone is just going to the mat on it. I think when you watch that and then like God, just amazing work from Rashawn and like Jasper, and then also just like Siobhan bringing it. Like that was like, I love all her characters and what she does, but like sometimes she's not silly. Like she's not silly like Jason was silly. And like I just like fell in love with all the things that like she was saying, and like you could just really feel it, like the way she's moving in those scenes, the way she's just like having fun behind Brennan's back and just like sitting in her chair all cool. It was just great to see her in that, and like just thinking about like, man, Aabria really brought that out of her. And
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I just love that.
Yeah, Aabria cracked that hard British shell
Yeah,
and got
yeah.
the silly out. Like,
Holly in my pocket. Get out
yeah.
of here. Get out of here.
I want a final counter of like the
Yeah.
wild British things we learned. Um, yeah, you mentioned Rashawn. It's so cool that you both started in Chicago at the same time.
Yeah.
Good God, is she
She's phenomenal.
talented?
Yeah, she's just way better than all of us. Like she's just really good. Like I knew it. Like, and here's the thing, like she had like a bunch of like experience before she came to Chicago. And I believe she was already like doing stuff at Second City by the time I had started my level 1 in IO. And she had started, I believe, at the same, either we like I did Second City and IO, so either it was in one or the other, and I can't remember. But then when I got to LA and I saw that, she was still following her online and whatnot, and she was like killing it in Chicago. I was like, I saw her on like Dropout, and we were talking about like the casting of this season, and some people were in stone and some people were kind of like floaters or whatever. And I was like, we should get Rashawn. Like we just should. And then the question was like, oh, well, does she play D&D? And I was like, I don't care. Like I don't. I think I will sit down with her. Like we will talk and I will explain what Dungeons and Dragons is. I was very much like Team Rashawn, like from the jump to get a new person in. And then also Team Jasper, which I
Yeah.
like called Jasper. Like Jasper and I had met in, I believe maybe that trip that he met Aabria in. We got lunch like just out of nowhere, and we just ended up like walking around Burbank for like 6 hours just like talking about our lives. And then like later on that year I nominated him for a scholarship at Big Bad Con because I'm on the leadership board there, the POC leadership board. And he came in and I remember taking a photo of him and Lexi McQueen still making the call that the 2023 2024 is going to be their year. Like they are extremely talented people that I believe people need to watch more of. Jasper Cartwright, Lexi McQueen, fantastic.
Yeah, I should say, Jasper did tell me the story of you falling asleep mid DM of like, hey, has Brennan emailed you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I tried to give him the heads up. And I mean, it was late. I was just like, hey, and the thing is, like, I did not even think about that when it happened to. Like, I didn't think like, oh, this is like, the lottery. Like, this is, what this has been getting called up to the majors, and I just like disappeared on you. Like, I felt so bad. But yeah, like for me, it was just like there was nothing. I guess I wasn't alarmed because it was already done. It was already like we were gonna get him no matter what. Like even if he didn't want to, we were gonna get him. Like
Yeah.
So it wasn't even up to him. Like it was, we were gonna get him. We're gonna drag him here. Yeah, for sure.
They were both such great additions to the dome. I don't know for Sean. I assume she's mentioned this to you that like is a huge Dimension 20 fan and like was watching and like she like told people like I'm gonna play in the dome with Brennan like before she was on Dropout ever. She was like I don't know anybody there and I'm gonna get in the dome.
I believe it. I believe that woman can manifest anything she wants. Like she's so talented. She's so incredibly talented. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I asked her about musical improv, and she's like, "It's easy. Anyone can do it." And I was like, "You're a liar."
Not. Don't believe any of those people. Rhyming on the spot. Get out of here.
Yeah. I would say she at least she was like basically like the way I feel about musical improv, she also feels about Shakespearean improv. Because like that also like same to me of like I don't understand how you can do that either. Also lots of rhyming in that, but like she was like those people are crazy. I'm like no. All of you like that can do this are wildly talented.
They all make it seem so easy too, so you get your hopes up. It's like especially because when it's like it's easy and they wrap it in fun too, so you're just like, oh, it is, and then all of a sudden you're on stage and you're like, my name is Carlos and my name rhymes with Barlos. Like you just can't do it. Like it's a different thing. Yeah, for sure.
She's so talented and like just brought it so hard this season. I'm just like,
absolutely.
And like the final battle, kicking a gun. Good God, what a way to like,
that was
cement
so fun.
Your place in the dome.
It was so fun to like shoot that season because I was in this new role and I knew we were focusing heavily on the improv of it all and the role playing of it. And I remember just like taking time every day to like talk to the improvisers, like especially like Jasper and Erica and Rashawn, just taking time to be like, hey, what are you thinking for your character? Where do you think this is going? Like, where do you think you would react here or there? And just like getting a broad sense. And those questions aren't meant to like lead them anywhere, but it does put them in a mindset where they're like, well, what is the bigger meaning that my character might have? Like, what is that? I remember like one night it was super late, so late that they like kicked us out of the parking lot. Like they were just like, other people have to go home, you losers. And I remember just like sitting in Erica's car and we were just talking about like, the Joy Luck Club and like generational trauma and just like, it's so weird to say that out loud because we're talking about little stoats in an improv D&D game. But I think it just goes to show like the level of mastery that these players try to achieve when they're in the dome. And I think when you're surrounded by that, you just can't help but try to like up your game and bring something that maybe the average person wouldn't. Yeah.
Well, Erica certainly brought generational trauma to the table, big time. Good, for sure. Good God,
she's so good.
That final battle, though, I DM'd you as I was watching it. When you first saw your mini, what did you think of old Dr. Carlos Winabacher's final form? Or excuse me, not Dr. Carlos Winabacher. It's just in my head that's his name.
Robert,
because the art was just you traced, it was so clearly you.
It was so funny. It was so wild. The whole Winabacher thing was wild because how it came about, it was just basically kind of a joke. Like Aabria's just like, I'm going to kill you in every season I do. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. That's great. I love stuff like that. And yeah, when we originally talked, we were like, this is at the very beginning when we thought we still had like tons of time to like do stuff. Because like, we were just like, oh, I remember I had just watched Candyman and I was like, oh, shadow puppets. We should do something like that. I just lost my blue. Everything just went away. We're okay. We're going with it.
It's gotten very dark behind me.
I remember I just watched Candyman. I was just like, oh, we should do something with like shadow puppets. And like Rick's team's like, actually, they're called Crankies. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to do that because that's freaking awesome. And yeah, Winaker came about, and it was a big part of the history of Last Bass, and we had even talked about the idea. I'm like, we got projectors in the back. I'm like, if you want to do like a found footage thing, like on 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, or something like that, we can do something like that. And then it became like a whole thing of like, okay, well, are we actually going to a set to shoot this, or you know what I mean? Like, are we doing something like that? And then we said, oh, it'd be really cool if we did these audio tapes. And I was like, yeah, I could totally do that. So she wrote me a script, and it's literally, the script reads like a log. So there's no like real direction other than like um normal. And I think one of them's just like agitated, scared, like in each block of each of those tapes. And so a lot of people don't know this either, but like I recorded that, and I did all the Foley work as well. So like I did, the risers and the little squeaks. When you're actually in the dome, it pans as well. So you can hear the stoats like move around you in a 3D space.
It's very fun.
Which, that's something I think is really cool, and the players
Yeah.
probably thought cool. But yeah, just like I should do a breakdown of that too, of like all the work that goes into it, because like how I change my voice and how I do the rat stuff, and how it and why it sounds so scary at the end.
Yeah.
When they came out with the mini, we had talked about it, and it's just like, and Phoebe is in his mouth, like, and I was like, okay, cool, like I'll probably be like Edgar from Men in Black, And then they're like, oh, but also like let's take off his skin too. Like also like let's break his spine and like let's make it look wild. And I have footage of it too, of me and Aabria both like filming the thing at the same time and just being like, we're just like giggling like little kids.
Yeah.
Like all the behind the scenes stuff is just like us giggling and me like that the entire time. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, I also, one of the things I love is that your horror mini stayed up during the very sweet and charming like epilogues.
Oh, yeah.
Like it'll just like, and then Phoebe dead center as like it's like Jason is winning the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. Like incredible.
Yeah, they took that ending to the limit. I love them for it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have to imagine the tapes, like getting Brennan Mulligan to get up and walk away from the table declaring it's too scary has to feel real good in the moment.
Yeah, it really did. And I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I wish I could have done, more to it. But yeah, getting that reaction, because here's the thing, we don't know what they're going to do. Like there's been times when we've like, oh, this is going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And then like it happens and it's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then there's things like, I did not think the reaction to that was going to be that reaction. I thought they were going to be like, cool, we got some more information. But like in retrospect, yeah, I guess if you are in the dome and you do hear it like that and the lights are on you and it's moving, the reel to reel's moving in the background and Abria's being all creepy, like all scared and stuff, I'm like, oh shit, that would hit like pretty hard. Like that is pretty cool. Yeah, that felt awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was so deeply upsetting. One of the things that I loved about this season, that like, which is just a joy for me, was because I got the episodes early. I knew you were going to be. I knew your cameo was coming in. Like, you were Dr. Winaker. Like, I heard it and I was like, that sounds like Carlos. And then like the art came up and I was like, that's just Carlos. And I asked Aabria, and she said that you were just wearing a lab coat, that you're very pretentious, and they just had taken a picture of you. And
did they? I'm trying to think. So I art directed that. I'm trying to think that I don't even know if I sent something. I might have. I do have a lab coat. Like, funny enough, I do have a lab coat. So, I mean, I probably did send them something. Yeah, now that I think about it. That's so funny.
Like the joy for that particular thing, for that particular moment was I knew it was coming, and I was like, "That's really fun." And like neat. And then Aabria teased that a cameo was coming in on Twitter or whatever. And she was like, I'd tell you who it was, but it'd be cheesy. And I was like, I get it. But then the internet was like, she's talking about Colin Provolone. And Zach Oyama is going to come join the table as Jeffrey and play as... And I was like, holy shit.
I mean,
what is happening? And like, I just get to watch this conspiracy murder board unfold. And it happened so many times this season. What was that like to get to watch just like people unravel as they tried to solve things?
Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun, like, ha, 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 ha. Here's the thing. Actually, no, I'll say this. Sometimes you almost always think it's going to be fun. And it's fun for like 5 minutes until like one person says an idea that's way better than your idea. And then you're like, oh, I hope no one sees that person's idea. And then someone posts another idea that's even better than that other person's idea. And then you're like, crap, do I even deserve to have this job? And then like someone posts another idea and you're like, God, I wish we would have done that. And then I have to talk myself down off a ledge like, no, we didn't have time. They know stuff that I didn't know in time. Like there's no way I could. And be like, man, Zach would have been good in that. Like Zach would have.
A real different season is Jeffrey was just alive and last fast.
You know what's so funny about Jeffrey? Like when we first got the artwork. So doing the artwork was so fun, but at the same time kind of hard as well, because like the note, like Aabria had some very specific notes, like, hey, these are stoats. And I was like, cool, so like Disney stoats. And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool, so like do they have clothes or whatever? And she's like, no dude, they are stoats. Like this is a conversation. She must have been so upset because she had to have this conversation and I had to have this conversation with so many people like as the season went on, including the players and like production and post-production and stuff like that. And it was pretty like, it makes sense when you see Burrow's end, but like it doesn't when you have so many references for so many other points of media. And it was just so funny when we got we got the artwork back, and again, like I'm at her table and I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you go through some of this artwork? Like I have some notes, but I want to make sure it has your eyes on it before I like send them out. And she was like, yeah, we're going through them all pretty fast. And we get to Jeffrey and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, dude, that stoat is really hot, right? Like that stoat is like way too hot to be. And she's like, absolutely. I was just like, I know. And then like, and then that led to a bunch of notes on Bennett where she was just like, we got to get Bennett hotter. Like we got to make Bennett super hot. And I sat back as I'm like, yeah, we definitely do. And I'm like writing and I stopped for a second. I'm like, what is my life? Like, why am I giving these notes on like make the stoat hotter? Also, you have to do that in a very professional way too, as well, because you can't just say like, make it so I want to have sex with this stoat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that.
I think you could on Dimension 20.
You could. I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so fun. Were there any like particular conspiracy theories that you got to see that like really like not the ones that you were like, I wish we'd have done it, but like ones where you were like, wow, like
ones that I thought we should have done?
No. Ones that, or either way, I guess, but like ones that just like, if there were any that you like really enjoyed that like when you saw like a Percy Jackson level of like,
yeah, like no one was able to guess this season, which I don't blame them. Like that's very hard to like actually guess or like figure out. There was I thought the Percy Jackson was really interesting. For me, it's more like, well, what, like before we do these announcements, it's like it's really interesting to me to see like the pulse of the viewers, like where their mind goes and what they automatically think of. It definitely like plays into like, I don't want to say like what we do, because it kind of doesn't, because we're already like a year ahead, so it's not like that or whatever, but it is pretty inspiring, especially from a like ooh, there's a hot zone over here with like Percy Jackson, or ooh, there's a hot zone over here with like Murph running a season or
Yeah.
something like that, which I know that they desperately, desperately want.
Yeah.
I have no control over that. I think if there's ever, like, he's super busy, and honestly, if the project's right, the project's right, but like we don't try to manufacture anything, so it pretty much just be like, what are you excited about, or what is someone excited about, for us to like get the ball rolling on something. But yeah, I can't really think of like any conspiracies. I love how Burrow's End unfolded, um, where there wasn't any from, and I look at all that stuff online, but like it wasn't these big, people weren't trying to go to the end with Burrow's End, which I really like. They were just going like next episode, next episode, next episode, which tells me that like it's not that we made something so unpredictable or anything like that. It just says that they were just like, they needed more information. And that for me, and I know Aabria, is that like she told a great story and it unfolded at a rate that like we wanted it to unfold at. Yeah, I think that's what I'm most happy
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
I mean, it was an unmitigated triumph of a season. Like, huge congrats to you and the whole like D20 team. Yeah, I obviously like loved it so much. I mean, I won't stop talking about it.
It's great. Like, it's fantastic. I think they did a great job. I think she did a fantastic job. Everyone involved, fantastic. I think it really does set like a standard for role playing in a game like this. And first season in the dome, in the new dome, in Dome Point 3 or 3.0, she brought stuff to the table that like I don't think anyone was like expecting, and we did so much. Like basically like every episode there is something in Burrow's End. Like every episode is like, backgrounds changing and like audio tapes and like, or a battle map, or
there's a puzzle for the first time.
There's a puzzle which I thought was really weird. So the puzzle
Aabria says that she wanted to make it harder and you didn't think the players were smart enough to solve it.
Sort of. But it really wasn't. The puzzle itself didn't need to be difficult. We were actually like crunched for a little time. So she was actually, I'll just tell you, she couldn't do the full combat that she had prepared. And I know that was a little disappointing too. But we put a lot into it, where it was supposed to be like, not only like a very simple puzzle, but it was also the trick wasn't the puzzle. Like the puzzle is the puzzle. But puzzle, combat, exposition, or history, right? So like if they're smart enough, they're actually getting a lot of this information at the same time. So we kind of have like three things happening at one time for that puzzle, which I thought was really cool. Like in itself, if you see that episode as like, oh, this is a battle map episode, I don't think it does it justice. But if you see it as like, hey, I wish all GMs on Dimension 20 gave like their lore drops like this, I think it's perfect. Like, I think that's one, we did a lot of great storytelling in Burrow's End, and we didn't make you sit through a long thing. It was like being discovered organically and with like cool stuff that we made in the art department.
Yeah. And yeah, it was great. We're coming up on the hour. I know we don't have to like talk junior year, of course. Obviously, the trailer
I have time. Yeah, I got some time.
The thing that I don't know if you've seen it, because I know you were in a meeting today. I'm assuming it was Andrew Bridgman posted like maybe you chose the emojis that were going to be used to tease the next trailer.
I didn't.
Okay, so
I didn't.
The emojis are
Bridgman.
The words "fantasy high," but he put blue letters except for the A's, which he put as red, which obviously I'm assuming is for Eggford Academy. And the internet has lost their minds trying to decipher what the red A's are supposed to mean. It is.
Hold on. I'm gonna look it up right now. I have not seen this.
It's the most recent tweet, I think.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. I know what this is. Cool. I can't say anything about it, but like I know what it is. That makes sense to me. Yeah. I'll double check, but I'm almost positive I know what it is. Here's a secret hint. What are people saying?
Ida Eggfort is going to join the table as a PC. Like, it's the wildest stuff, as it always is, of, like...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Justice. Oh, bad kids go to rehab? Yeah, there's just like a bunch of stuff. What's the highest one? So the biggest one seems like Percy Jackson to me.
Yeah.
That's like the most liked one. Yeah, I know what this is. It is a...
This won't come out till after the trailer is out. So
yeah.
You also don't have to say anything.
It's actually... It's bigger than the trailer. I don't know if it'll be answered in the trailer. I think it's a little bit bigger than the trailer. But
interesting.
Yeah. If he's doing what I think he's doing, it's like extremely big. It's like he basically explained the entire season. Oh, Bridgman.
That's very fun. Yeah, I know everyone's kind of like, I mean, I know you said like your first real season is Mentopolis, then you come in like really like get to like dig in for Burrow's End, and then junior year. I mean that's a hell of a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. So I'm hired in. So I go full time in March, right? And at that time, way too much. Like way too much is going on. There's ending of Ravening. There is Mentopolis, Drag, Burrows, junior year. I can't tell you. They're all happening at the same time, like the same exact time, right? So they're all in different parts, but they're all happening in the same time. So I am just like, oh my God. Like, and they've never done so much at one time before. They'd always been like kind of like a one on, one off, one on, one off. But I think they were trying to, we were trying to get a lot in the can. And I think a big part of that was also with the impending strike. It was like, okay, let's get as much as we can, in the can. And then like, hopefully we have enough. We spun up way too much content, like way too much. And it was like, I think I was like only working 3 weeks before like Brennan left for like a month to get married and go on like vacation or whatever. So it was basically like, hey, Carlos, meet this person. I was like, cool. Now meet this person. I was like, awesome. And it's like, okay, hopefully you can run this team. And I was like, oh, wow. It was like, I guess I'm off to the races. But it was one of those things where it was like getting dropped in the deep end. Like, I feel like really made it so I didn't question myself while it was happening. But yeah, when we're running it up, like I think the hardest part was Burrows and junior year were both minis season. And that's hard for the art department because they have like no buffer. So I think there was like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the ending, before we were done shooting Burrows and we had to shoot junior year. So it was like Rick was praying that like we could push it back. Like we absolutely couldn't. We actually ended up like moving more dates forward. And like when you look at a calendar like that, when you look at like, okay, when do we think they're going to need this battle map to happen? When do we think? Like we can speculate all we want, but the game's going to be the game no matter what, I sounded like I was from like Boys in the Hood or something when I said that. Like the game's the game no matter what. Dimension 20. yeah, I think, yeah, that type of pressure is just like, it was a whirlwind. So like what's happening for me is I'm on set 12 12 hours, 12, 14 hours or whatever. I'm out, right? And then I do every watch 3 times. So like I not only see it live, but then I see the rough cut, I see the fine cut, and I see the lock cut. So the entire time I'm giving notes on like how we can punch things up, like how we can make this a little bit better. Um, but imagine having to watch like Lord of the Rings trilogy like every day. That's my life, guys. Like I know I heard some of you watch Dimension 20 for fun. Uh I'm totally joking, but like I do like every week I have to watch like hours and hours of footage, and I'm giving notes on like the music and the cuts and like, hey, can we see a close up of like Lou here? Hey, like this player looks a little disinterested while this other player's playing, or this person's really focused on their character sheet. Can we just see someone, um, and then like the music and the Foley and stuff like that, and we have phenomenal editors, and they take it above and beyond to like the next level. But yes, like ultimately like I have to watch all those because I'm responsible for them, like I'm responsible for these episodes. um yeah, it was wild. Like just being on set that long and then having to watch them. Sometimes I'm on like lunch break, like AirPods, one AirPod in, another one in the other one. So like I could actually watch and listen to Slack
Boy.
notifications and just like give notes. And also like I'm giving feedback on like artwork. I'm art directing that stuff. So like it's not only when you look at these episodes, it's not only just like illustrations come after we shoot. So it's like, you know, you might need 40, you might need 70, like Mentopolis had a ton of illustrations, not to mention like, what does the intro look like? Like, what does the trailer look like? Um, do we use animation? Do we use motion graphics? So like all that needs someone to like help direct and help like move it along, and also like know like what the overarching themes are, and be able to like know what's doable in the timeline and with you know the budget. you know um yeah, I was dying for like a very long time. Like I was like, I think if you look at my social media, there's just like weeks when I'm just like not on it at all or whatever. I'm just like, yeah, just living at that studio. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was great
I,
though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you got. I will say, like, so talking about editing, then you got to see the Jason edit. How did that come about? That like Jason making a run for the blue, the thorn, like
So that was
the whip,
all
like.
that was Tyler's idea. So Tyler, one of our editors, phenomenal. Tyler actually does a lot of he's definitely like fueled by like doing something fun in his episode. Like he's gonna find something like really fun for him, And obviously it's fun for everyone, but he's just like, oh man, like I can do this. And also like I will say like he did some of these montage things in Burrow's End that we've never done before. Like when they first go to the reactor, like that's all Tyler, and I like applaud him for that. Like that's just great directing and cinematography that he was like pulling for that. The Jason edit. The Jason edit was not the Jason edit that you saw. So I will say this. Love Tyler. Did a fantastic job. The original Jason edit was like 3 times longer than it actually was. And it involved a lot more candid shots of like all the players and like what their, what the vibe of the table was. But there is it there is a scene where it's like, it's like sparkling and the sparkles are happening and whatever. So there was a thing right in the second sparkle where it was like the opacity the opacity of Jason was like toned down over it, but it was just the illustration. But it was definitely giving, that meme of Elmo and Hell like this, because like
Yeah.
Jason has his hands in the air and it's just like Jason like slowly moving up like in the set. I was just like dude, like I think this is fantastic. I think the job was fantastic. Like the ending, that zoom, like where it like sucks out and it goes. I was like, you have them, man. Like all you have to do is just like play up. I was like, play it up like a memorial. Like just play it up like this is what Dimension 20 would do if we had to say goodbye to Siobhan. Like this is what we would do. Play it up like that. And then like the next one was just like, oh shit, this is really good. Like this was like he did such a great job on that. Like I was so impressed. I remember I showed Aabria like the next day. I was like, you have to see this cut. Like he did something that we did not expect for sure.
Yeah. I mean, watching that, first of all, like I think many people, I thought, is the episode about to end on this wild cliffhanger as just like it's slow, because like before it does the like sucks you back out, like you think like, oh, the episode has ended on like we don't know the role, and I was like, I hate this so much, and then like we get that like snap back at the table, like and then it's the 14, and I think I described it as like my headphones like flew out of my head, like I like threw back, like I was sitting at my computer watching it and just like lost my mind. What a triumph of a moment.
And I look for moments like that too, and I know the editors look for moments like that, and we're getting there where we can take like, and we can make things a little bit more important, and we can really heighten them, and it doesn't come from like a cut, and it doesn't come from like a reaction or pasting something. It's literally just like, let's just be a little bit artistic here, and I think he nailed it. Like he did it himself. He was like, I think this is what we should do here. And we were all like, yes. Like, you did a great job.
So good. All right. To close us out, can you talk to me about your fits? My God, you're a stylish man. I put on a shirt and tie for you today because I was like, Carlos Luna, who knows what he's going to bring? It could be
I debated it too. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna support the franchise, right? Like this is my little support the franchise thing. Side note, if you're on dropout.tv and you go to the shop and you buy this particular sweater, one, it feels incredible. You're going to live in it. You're going to want to wear it all the time. I will tell you this is a service announcement to everyone who buys this sweater. Do not wear khakis and go to Target. I am telling you, it did not work out for me. I thought I was getting stopped for my cool look. That was not the case. I don't know. You know what? I started thinking, my style really hadn't changed for a long time. I used to play in like hardcore bands and, just like screamo stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool outfit I'm wearing today. And then for whatever reason, it like popped in my head. I remember working in a Blockbuster video, and this guy came in totally decked in like 80s style White Snake. Like he thought he was like king shit. Like he was the shit, right? And I remember being like giggling a little bit, like he doesn't know. Like he is stuck in that year. And when I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, that happened 12 years ago. And I'm like, I'm dressing like 12 years ago. I'm like, is this how people see me? And then I went down like everything. I went down like a rabbit hole of like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, people. And I mean, honestly, I buy everything on eBay. Everything I buy is pretty much like, once you learn the brands and the styles and whatever, everything's like $20 to $35, like for a pair of pants or a shirt or something like that. And you just like look nicer than like anyone expects you to look, I guess.
It's not that we don't expect you to look nice. You just look nice.
I just look nice. Yeah. And that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. Carlos, thank you so much. If the folks want to follow you on the social media, is it Carlos Crits everywhere?
Carlos Crits everywhere. You can just follow me there. I post more on TikTok than anywhere else these days, because what's the other site? That site isn't. It's
Aabria's not allowed there anymore. It's a weird place these days.
Is Aabria not allowed there anymore? What happened?
Yeah, she got kicked off, so that's why she spends a lot of time on Tumblr. Yeah, I don't remember what she did.
Is on Tumblr. Aabria sends me like weird Tumblr links sometimes of people being weird about Winaker. And I'm just
Oh,
like,
I bet. Yeah.
I'm like, there was one that was just like, it was the Winaker logo. It was like early on, like Winaker episode just came out, and she like texted me this link, and it's like the Winaker artwork. I was like, oh, that's cool. They took the Winaker artwork, and I like clicked it, and it just said smash, and it had like 1,000 likes on it, and I was like, what? What is happening? So she gets a big kick out of that, but it's funny. Yeah,
I bet, especially because the art is just you.
Yeah.
That's so delightful. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to talk to you about junior year, because of course you have to come back and talk about it. I know you're the Tom Holland of D20, so it will be the end of the season, but that's fine. I'll see you in May.
Thank you.
Whenever.
I'll see you in May. Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And